everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Nicole and this is Dusty Book Sniffers, and today we're here for a weekly wrap up, so let's get started. Well, good morning or good evening everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for taking some time out of your day and spending it with me while I prattle on about the books that I have read. So basically I am doing a check-in for the first half of October, and yeah, I've read a few books. So I'm pretty happy with what I've done so far. I am going to talk about some that I have, one that I have DNF, so we'll start with that one. As you know, we are doing the Women's Prize for Fiction shortlist read along over in Dusty's Discord, and Trespassers spun up this month, and basically I tried, I couldn't, I failed. I just don't like this book. I didn't like it the first time around. I thought I'd give it another go. I just can't. I just can't. So I've DNF'd it. And it's, yeah, it's a strange little book. It's a book where you either love it or you hate it, and there's no middle ground. You know, on sprints and stuff like that, we've discussed about it. There's some of us that don't like it. There's some of us that do like it. I just don't get along with political infidelity, that sort of stuff, and I found it very boring as well, like the first time around. But anyway, you can go and check out my Women's Prize for Fiction reading vlogs. I think this was in the third one, so yeah, second or third one, so you can go and check that out and you'll have all my feelings about it. I'm not going to go over it again, but this is not going to appear on my channel again, although apparently I'm not allowed to get rid of it because, again, Savannah wants to read it. So anything that I read, she just says, look, just leave it there, I will get to it, and all the rest of it. I'm like, but seriously, you're probably not going to like it. Because she's trying to step out of her comfort zone, which is kudos to her. That's great that she's doing that. So I'm going to leave it on there on the bookshelf, the Women's Prize for Fiction shortlist bookshelf. And so yeah, so she can have a little bit of a look at it. That I can, oh, look at that. See, oh, bookmark. I can honestly say I will never pick this up and whatnot. So it is almost like a brand new book, but you know, I want to support the authors that are bringing books out and all that sort of stuff, and I want to support the Women's Prize for Fiction as well, because I think it's important. It is an important prize, in my opinion. I know that some people probably don't agree with that, and that's fine. That's entirely up to you, but to me it is important, and I think that we should celebrate women's authors and stuff like that. Yes, there probably could be a little bit more diversity in the authors and all that sort of stuff, but you know, it's a work in progress, as they say. So hopefully they will become a little bit more diverse in the authors and stuff like that, but that particular one is not for me. So I'm just going to leave it at that. All right, the next one, funny enough, is actually set in Ireland, written by Nora Roberts. This actually finished off a series for me. So this is called the Born In series. So the first one was Born in Fire, the second one was Born in Shame, and this one, Born in Ice, and then this one is Born in Shame. So the first one is about a hot, passionate woman, and she's an artist and all that sort of stuff. I completely just glazing over here, and the father and the mother were, you know, hot and heavy and all the rest of it. So Born in Fire, right? Okay, the second one, that's sort of the gist of what I got. The second one was the middle child, born of the same parents, not treated so well and all that sort of stuff. She's very timid and all that sort of stuff, very homely, likes to cook and all that sort of stuff. So that was the main characters and whatnot, and they're just love stories, basically. Very not great love stories. Like the first one, it was quite a domineering type love story, so they were very forceful with one another, borderlining on abuse somewhat. You know, like, I don't know how to describe it, but anyway. And the second one was more of a sweet love story, and this one here was about a girl, basically born in shame. The father of the first two had a hot and heavy affair with a woman that subsequently left Ireland and went back to the US, and the girl found out on her mother's deathbed that her father, who she thought was her father for all these years, was not her father. And so ensues a story of a young girl of about 26, I think she was, after her mother's death, wanting to know where she comes from, but not really wanting to find family, I would say, because she fought them every step of the way. Basically, she was saying that, you know, I don't want to stay here and all that sort of stuff. And there's a little bit of a folk tale there, why two of the characters meet and all that sort of stuff. It was okay. I wouldn't say it was a phenomenal book or anything like that. This series was my first sort of reading of Nora Roberts. I can see why people like her. I think I will do a few more of her trilogies. I've got another trilogy on my shelf of hers. I cannot think of what the name of the trilogy is. It might be actually in here. Let me have a look. It is the Sign of Seven trilogy. So on my shelf, I actually have Blood Brothers and Pagan Stone. And I've just got to get The Hollow, which I have on audio. So I'll be able to get that trilogy off my shelf as well. So I can sort of see why people like Nora Roberts and all the rest of it. She's a little bit, Danielle Steele type books as they are for me. So I can see why these would be, picked up and consumed and all that sort of stuff. However, this one was written back in 1996. So make of that what you will. Okay. It did not age well, because there are certain things that happened in the first one that wasn't so great. And in this one, there is a situation where it's like, I don't know, forceful is the only way I can describe it. But anyway, overall, I like this book. I've actually given a 3.5 because I did enjoy it. 3.5 star. I wouldn't rate them any higher than that. 3 to 3.5. That's probably all you're going to get. It'd have to be a phenomenal story to hit a 4. It's the same as Danielle Steele. They're consumable books. They're palate cleansers. All that sort of stuff. There's some not great stuff that I think that I'm glad we've moved on from that and all the rest of it. But yeah, I did enjoy reading it, and I'm looking forward to picking up some more. I don't know whether I'd be going headlong into reading all of her books, but never say never, right? Because I might just end up going, you know what, I need some Nora Robert in my life. So yeah, and I'm glad I've finished that trilogy. That series is now off my table, and and I love it. It's a purple book too. Like, it's a pretty purple. I don't have the other two. They were on audio. I don't have the other two. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. All right, so this one here, these two here, I think are rollovers. Okay, so this one I started at the end of last month. So this one's a rollover. I think I started it on the 29th or the 30th of last month. And basically I'd read a chapter and that was it. Thereabouts, maybe a little bit more. But anyway, You and Me by Nicola Rayner is a thriller mystery type thing. So with a little bit of romance in it, toxic romance at that. But anyway, we have Fran, who was commonly called Freaky Fran at school because she was different and all that sort of stuff. And she also had a sister as well that went to school with her. We start off at a train station where Fran is standing and she's watching two people that she went to school with. And subsequently a accident happens and one of them fall off the train platform and is killed by the train. And basically the story sort of goes, I cannot really talk about this book very much, so I can just give you a basic going over what it's about. So basically from that point on, no one has seen her. Like, they didn't see that she was on the platform or anything like that. And she watched it all happen and she felt like he was pushed because everybody was jostling to get on the train. If you've ever been on a busy train station, you know what it's like. Like, everyone's jostling and he's falling in front of the train. The police are investigating to see what happened, and he was with his mate Charles, I want to say. And basically Fran had a thing for Charles when they were at school. And so she's been mildly obsessed with this man for most, boy come man, for most of her life. And she does some very questionable things and whatnot. But she believes that he was pushed. And she also has a sister that she talks about a lot throughout the book because her sister and her had an argument 5 years prior. Her sister was heavily pregnant. We know that she has a niece named Rose, and she's never met her because they had an argument. They went their separate ways and all that sort of stuff. She's not seen her since, or anything like that. She often sends her emails and all that sort of stuff. There is a situation in this book that just blew me away when we got to the end of it. I don't think I've ever read where this has been a situation. So it was actually pretty good. I was pretty happy with how the book ended and everything. I've actually given this a 4-star rating. I know I'm rating it high for a thriller, but I found that this one was very, very compelling. It kept me turning the pages. I wanted to know, there's a story there with her sister. What was the problem? Why they had I wanted to know what the goss was there. And I also wanted to know what happened to the sister at school to cause them to leave the school, and all that sort of stuff. So there's all these little things that are happening throughout the book that just make you want to keep turning the page. Once I got into this, like the first chapter, I was late at night, I was tired, and that's why I had only read one chapter. But once I picked it up and got into, I could not put this down. I wanted to keep reading. I wanted to know what was happening. I wanted to keep turning the pages. So as I said, I've given this a 4-star rating, and it's the first time that I've read anything by this particular author as well. I'm trying to go for authors that I've never heard of before a lot, and I'm only talking about ones that have been recommended to me and stuff for the Meet the Author. I'm not doing it for every author because we'll be just doing that all the time. So yeah, I don't know whether I would actively go out and get her other book. There is The Girl Before You is her other book, and judging by that, I'm guessing that that's probably a little bit of an obsession mystery as well, because this main character is mildly obsessed with Charles. So I can say that because you know that from the get-go. So yeah, if you haven't read it, I recommend that you pick it up. The ending was surprising, let's say that. Okay, well, let's just leave it at that. All right, I'm going to move on to my next one. All right, the next one that I've actually finished, another book in the Wheel of Time series that I'm reading. I have officially surpassed the halfway mark. So there is 14 in the series. I'm now reading book 9. I've just got through the most lengthy prologue of 70 pages. But we actually, Coda and I finished off Wheel of Time number 8. We have now almost caught up. We are supposed to be reading one a month. We're supposed to be at book 11 at the beginning of November. We're currently reading book 9, but if we keep to our current schedule, we will be starting book 10 at the end of the month. So, and book 9 is not as big as this one. It's only got 500 and something pages. So what can I say about Wheel of Time book 8? Now, you hear people say that there's some books in the series that are a slog. I don't know what number they are, but I'm guessing it's number 8. Now, I'm not going to say that it was an absolute slog, because it's not. What I felt like this book was doing was setting up all the major players. So all the pawns in the story that we've got, all the major players that we've got, setting them up for something big that's coming. So there was a little bit of backstory here and there about different characters that are side characters that are coming to the forefront now. And there was a little bit of this person's now made it to this point, this person's over at this point, this person's at this point. So there was a lot of setup and a lot of background stuff that we need to know for the story to continue on. So yes, I can see why people would probably say that book 8, I'm guessing it's book 8 and 9, that are the slogs. Or 7, 8, and 9. I think there's either 2 or 3. Don't quote me on that, but you do hear people say that. And I watched one YouTuber just recently that didn't really discuss anything that happened in the book, just said that it was a lot for no reason. I don't think that it was a lot for no reason. I don't agree with that. I think there was a lot of things in here that needed to be mapped out so we can understand what's happening in future books. And it's been, we're book 8 in, we want to have some things, like some of the major plot points in the story too, got a little bit of, that haven't been spoken about in the last couple of books, got a little bit of time as well. So it sort of brought stuff together, and all the puzzle pieces are starting to come together. I honestly think that it was okay. While it was not as eventful as other books, and was a little bit, oh, okay, that's how it ended. It was like to be continued, is how Coda put it, and I think that is beautifully put. It was very, whereas the other ones, we sort of got a finalization of what was happening in that chapter and in that book and all the rest of it to move on to the next one. But this one was like, it sort of just like stopped. Was there any a little bit more, you know, like that's the feeling you got. That's not how it did, but that's the feeling you sort of got. So I was pretty happy with it all in all. I was asked on Sprints by Chris and asked if they read A Wheel of Time and they got to book 8, can they just do the Cliff Notes version of it and move on for book 8 and 9? My answer to that is no. That if you're going to commit to a 14 book series, read them all. There are bits and pieces in here that you will need to understand the story that makes sense for past things and makes sense for future things, I'm sure. I have given this a 4-star rating. Even though it is a slog of a book, I still have given it a 4-star rating. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that. And I'm currently reading book 9. I've just got to page 70 of book 9. And for those that don't know, I actually read this every time I have a sprint. I read this book. So book 9, we're breaking that up into it. We normally only do 100 pages per sprint, so it's 200 pages a week. Because the next book is about the same size, 500 and something, we've actually broken that up into 150 pages or thereabouts. So I think right now we're doing, we're going up to the start of chapter 7. Then on Friday, that's on, and that was for yesterday's, Monday's sprints. And then Friday's sprints, they are going up to chapter 14, the beginning of that, and so forth and so on, until we actually finish it. All right, so that is the continuing saga of Wheel of Time, the rollover books, and all the rest of it. Next, we have a bingo prompt. This was to read a memoir, I think it was, or a book that, no, it was a book that has been on your shelf for a very long time. This has been on my shelf for a very long time, so much so that it's actually got warped and damaged and all sorts of stuff. So this is basically written by Mitch Winehouse. It is about his daughter Amy and her struggles that she went through. This was a really interesting book to read because there were so many stories around her parents abusing their access to her money, that Amy didn't have access to any of her money and all that sort of stuff. And so it was very much Mitch putting all those rumours to bed. And he's written it in a way that it's like he's talking about his diary entries and he's reflecting on his diary entries, basically. And he does refer to, this is the last time I wrote in my diary about yada yada, okay? She was a very troubled girl, but from the get-go and the way he described her, she had a very adventurous personality, a somewhat addictive personality. She struggled with alcoholism. There was a lot of rumours saying that she died from a drug overdose. It wasn't. It was actually just abuse of alcohol, although she did have problems with heavy drugs and all that sort of stuff. And she was introduced to them by way of her first husband, who ended up doing jail time for trying to pervert the course of justice or something along those lines. I think he was trying to bribe someone or something along those lines, and he ended up in jail, and that's how she sort of got herself free from him. But you will love to hate him. He was an ass is the only way to describe him. And Mitch, and I know I'm only getting one side of the story by reading a book by Mitch and Winehouse. And so basically the one line that stood out to me was when her first husband said that he liked being a drug addict. He liked it. He liked that lifestyle and all the rest of it. And what also struck me very, it was quite, not upsetting in a way, but, you know, just very sad that, you know, all these people, leeches for lack of a better term, knew that she was quite weak in her personality for addiction and stuff like that, and they kept going towards her, so much so that she actually had security guards and everything towards the end. She was having seizures and all sorts of stuff. She was drinking a lot. She was blowing a lot of her shows and all that sort of stuff. It was a train wreck. And to be as harsh as this sounds, I think if she had been still alive today, she still would have been in that lifestyle. So is it a blessing in disguise that she passed? Because she was very troubled. She was struggling with her addictions and all the rest of it. And honestly, with the people that were around her and the lifestyle that she was leading, I don't think she would have ever got clean. And I know that sounds harsh and all the rest of it, but it's sort of, you know, it was a really good story to read. It was heartbreaking, but it wasn't a tearjerker in any way. It was really good to get some clarifications and stuff like that on her life and you know, what was actually true and what wasn't true and all that sort of stuff. Again, I'm only getting one side of the story, obviously. You know, you take that with what you know, with a grain of salt, like anything when it comes to this sort of stuff. But if you haven't read this, I do recommend that you give it a read. It'll probably, especially if you're into her music and you followed her career and all that sort of stuff, it is quite interesting to get his perspective and how he felt about it and all the rest of it. Now, I will say, though, that this book, all the proceeds from this book went to Amy Winehouse's foundation, and the foundation is helping troubled children, so children that are in the same circumstances as what Amy was, and young adults as well. So, and apparently they have raised a lot of money for this foundation and whatnot. So, you know, something good has come out of something so sad and so tragic, you know, with such a tragic end. So yeah, maybe if you know, want to, you can go and have a look. And yeah, she, and you know, just talks about her life and what she done and how she went about things and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, and there's all these photographs of her and everything, you know, personal family photos and stuff like that. And she done ballet, and she's such a pretty girl too. Like, I just think she was absolutely gorgeous. And it's just a sad state of affairs that addiction for some people just has such a tragic end. That, I mean, how adorable. Look at those photos. Don't you just want to get those cheeks and pinch them? So cute, so cute. Yeah, you know, and they, you know, the family had struggles and all that sort of stuff with her and whatnot, and that's her father there. So yeah, it is quite an interesting story. If it's like, if you want to read a memoir about, you know, someone that struggled with addiction and all that sort of stuff, definitely worth a read. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't generally rate memoirs or non-fictions or anything like that, because they are what they are. But if I had to rate that, I would give it a 4-star rating. So yeah. All right, now on to my trashy novel. So I'm going to round out the week with Guilty Women. All right, this is part 2 of Ruthless Women. So if you remember, last month I read Ruthless Women. I said it was very much like a Jackie Collins-esque type book. But I do feel like that there may be another part coming, because just the way it ended, like it wasn't open-ended, like it sort of came to the conclusion, but I think that maybe some more might be coming about these particular characters in here. So they are on the beautiful island in the last book. I can't really talk about that because I'll give it away as well. They're back on the set of the show. All the women are back there again, and a whole heap of stuff is about to happen. So there is backstabbing and all that sort of stuff, but this time they're trying to clean up the way everything from, like, move on from what happened in the first one and all the rest of it. But a series of events happen. Subsequently, there is a murder, and then all hell break loose. So yeah, I cannot really talk too much about it, but if you like things like Hollywood Wives or any Jackie Collins books, this is very much like that. There is a bitchiness, there is backbiting, there's backstabbing, there is guilty people, there is murder, there's mayhem, and all the things. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I read it in one sitting. This was also a book for Spookoplathon as well. So yeah. It was a book that you thought that you wouldn't be able to put down, a sticky book, and it held up to it. I have given this a 4-star rating as well. So both of them very good. I love Melanie Blake's style of writing. She knows how to write a trashy novel. She knows how to put the bitchiness in. She knows how to put the, you know, getting them all to come together again and then it all blow up and all that sort of stuff. She just knows how to do a Jackie Collins book really well. So I'm looking forward, and she's nothing, this is very much like Jackie Collins, but she's nothing like Jackie Collins, if that makes any sense at all. But I feel when I read this, I automatically start to think of Hollywood Wives, The Stud, all those ones. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Pick it up. You'll have a fun time read. The first book is called Ruthless Women. The second book is called Guilty Women. And I think she has one other one called The Thunder Girls. So she's only got 3 books. And this one was published last year, I think. Let me just have a look. Yes, 2022 this came out. So I'm so glad that I got Ruthless Women in the Book Grocer box, because that put me onto this one. All right. That is all the books that I have read this week. I've rambled on long enough. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate you being here and joining in the fun while I recap the books that I have read. I will be back as soon as I have another pile to review, probably towards the end of the month, because I sort of am not getting through the books quick, but I am, if that makes sense. Right now, I have several on the go. So I have Wheel of Time at 9 on the go. I have the Lost Flowers of Alice Hart, which is actually a Meet the Author book. So I won't be talking about that until I do that next month. And I've also got The Green Rider on the go. So, and I have ACF Bookins one on the go. So I do have a lot of books still on the go at the moment. I'm hoping to have them wrapped up by this weekend so I can move on to the last lot of books, which I think I've got another 5 to get through. This week as well, I also started Priest by Sierra Simone, and I'm buddy reading that with Brittany on her sprints. So that's going to be a lot of fun. All right, I am going to head off today for the day and get onto some other things that I've got to do. But as always, if you are new here and you've yet to subscribe, make sure you hit that subscribe button, the little bell icon beside it, so you don't miss a thing. While you're there, give me a thumbs up and leave me a book emoji, the open book emoji, so I know that you got this far in the video, because it's always nice to see how far people are getting in the video. But as always, happy reading, everybody. Keep turning those pages, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.